There are some evenings that feel different from others, and you can never quite explain why. Maybe it's the way the light fades slower than you expected, or the way the quiet settles into your bones, like an old friend coming home. You find yourself sitting still, not reaching for your phone, not looking for distraction, just breathing and being present with yourself in a way that feels rare these days. And in that stillness, something stirs. Not anxiety, not restlessness, but something gentler. Something that feels almost like anticipation mixed with peace. I think God meets us in those moments more than we realize. Not with thundering voices or dramatic signs, but with a soft shifting of our hearts, a quiet reminder that He has not forgotten the prayers we stopped praying out loud, because we grew tired of hearing our own voices ask for the same thing. You're here tonight, listening to these words. I believe there's a reason for that. Not because I have special knowledge of your future, but because I think something in your spirit recognized that this message might carry a truth you've been avoiding, a comfort you've been craving, or maybe just a perspective you haven't allowed yourself to consider. So stay with me here. Not because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, or next month, or next year. I don't have that power, and anyone who claims to have it is selling you something that isn't theirs to sell. But I do believe in the power of reflection, the power of looking at our lives with honest eyes and asking God to show us what we've been too afraid or too tired to see. Tonight I want to talk to you about something that many people carry in their hearts, but rarely speak about openly. It's about love, yes, but not in the way that word gets thrown around so casually these days. It's about the kind of love that requires courage, the kind that asks us to step outside the boxes we've built around our expectations, the kind that might look different from what we imagined, and yet somehow feel more right than anything we could have planned. See, I've learned over the years that God's plans rarely match our blueprints. We draw up these detailed designs for our lives. We create timelines and expectations. We imagine the person who will one day stand beside us. And we fill in every detail of who they should be, where they should come from, what stage of life they should be in. And then life happens. And God, in His wisdom, starts working with a completely different set of materials than we handed Him. This doesn't mean He's ignoring us or playing games with our hearts. Something we cannot see. It means He understands connections that our limited human perspective would dismiss before they ever had a chance to bloom. The book of Proverbs tells us that the heart of a person plans their way, but it is the Lord who directs their steps. There's something deeply humbling about that truth. We plan, we prepare, we strategize, and yet the actual path we walk is often guided by a hand we cannot see, toward destinations we never put on our maps. Now, I want you to think about something with me. Think about the way we approach relationships in our culture, the way we've been conditioned to think about age and timing, and what makes sense on paper. There's this unspoken rule that we all seem to follow, this idea that love should arrive in a neat package that fits perfectly with our expectations. Same career stage, similar years. On this earth, matching life experiences. But love, real love, the kind that transforms and sustains and grows deeper with time, has never followed human rules very well. David was a shepherd boy when God saw a king inside him. Ruth was a foreign widow when she crossed paths with Boaz, and nobody looking at her situation would have predicted the life she was stepping into. Esther was young and seemingly powerless in a palace full of politics and danger. Yet she became the instrument of her people's salvation. Age has never been God's primary qualification. Readiness of heart has, courage has, willingness to step forward even when the path seems unconventional has. And here's what I want you to sit with tonight. Somewhere, right now, there may be someone who carries a quiet wondering about you, who sees something in you that others have overlooked. Someone younger, perhaps, who has watched the way you move through the world and recognized a depth, a steadiness, a kind of peace that they want to learn from, grow alongside, and build a future with. I'm not telling you this as prophecy. I'm telling you this as a possibility that you may have dismissed too quickly. See, we often close doors before God ever has a chance to open them. We look at a situation and say, that doesn't make sense, or people would talk, or they're too young, they couldn't possibly want this. And in doing so, we play God in our own lives. We decide what's possible and what isn't, based on our own limited understanding. But what if, just for a moment, you let go of those assumptions? What if you considered that someone who is younger than you might actually possess a maturity of spirit that has nothing to do with the number of years they've been alive? What if their youth isn't a disqualification, but a different kind of qualification? Fresh eyes to see what others have missed, energy to invest in something lasting, a heart that hasn't yet been hardened by disappointment into believing that love is always a transaction, always a negotiation, always about matching credentials. I've watched many relationships over the years, some that looked perfect on paper and crumbled under the weight of real life, and others that seemed unlikely from the outside but flourished because both people were willing to grow together. The difference was never about age matching. The difference was always about heart alignment. Two people facing the same direction, committed to the same values, willing to learn from each other and with each other. Each other. There is a beautiful verse in Ecclesiastes that speaks about two being better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If one falls down, the other can lift them up. But notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say two people of the exact same age are better than one. It doesn't say two people from the same generation are better than one. It simply says two together, facing life side by side, ready to catch each other when the stumbling happens. And oh, the stumbling will happen. That's not pessimism, that's just honesty about being human. We all fall. We all have seasons where the strength leaves our legs and the hope drains from our hearts. And we need someone there who says, I've got you. We're going to get through this. You are not alone. You'll face hard times together. The question is whether you're both committed to facing them, to not running when things get complicated, to choosing each other again and again in the small moments and the large ones. And that kind of commitment has nothing to do with being the same age. It has everything to do with being the same kind of soul. Now, I want to address something that you might be thinking right now. You might be wondering, why would someone younger want to build a life with me? What do I have to offer that they couldn't find in someone their own age? And I want you to listen carefully to what I'm about to say, because this is important. The question you should be asking isn't what you have to offer compared to someone else. The question you should be asking is what makes you uniquely valuable as the person God created you to be. You have walked roads that others haven't walked. You have survived seasons that others haven't survived. You have learned lessons that can only be learned through living, through failing, through getting back up and trying again. There is a wisdom in you that was earned, not given. There is a steadiness in you that was forged in fires that others can only imagine. And that wisdom, that steadiness, that depth that comes from having truly lived, that is something that cannot be manufactured or imitated. A younger person might look at you and see someone who has been through the storm and come out standing. They might see in you a kind of peace that they desperately want to understand. They might recognize that what you carry is exactly what they need in a partner, not someone who is still figuring everything out alongside them, but someone who has already walked certain paths and can offer guidance while still being humble enough to learn new paths together. This isn't about being their teacher or their mentor in some hierarchical sense. This is about the natural exchange that happens when two people with different life experiences choose to share the journey. You learn from them too. Their energy, their perspective, their willingness to question things you've accepted without examination. Their hope that hasn't been weathered by decades of experience. Disappointment. These are gifts, precious gifts, that a younger partner can bring into your life. The relationship becomes a mutual flourishing, not one person giving and the other taking, but both people enriching each other in ways that neither could experience alone. But here's the thing about this kind of connection. It requires courage. And courage, true courage, isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward, even when fear is present. And right now, somewhere, there may be someone who wants to step toward you, but is wrestling with their own doubts and hesitations. They might be asking themselves questions that keep them paused at the threshold. What will people think? Will they take me seriously? Am I ready for this kind of commitment? Enough? What if I disappoint them? These aren't questions of someone who doesn't care. These are questions of someone who cares deeply and wants to make sure they're approaching something sacred with the respect it deserves. Courage doesn't arrive all at once like a lightning bolt. It builds, piece by piece, as we take small steps and discover that the ground holds beneath our feet. And the person who may be considering building a life with you is perhaps in that building phase right now. They're gathering the courage that will eventually lead them to you. They're working through their fears, their doubts, their insecurities. They're growing into the person who will finally have the strength to say what their heart has been whispering for some time. Your job right now is not to rush that process. Job is not to go searching desperately, or forcing connections, or manipulating circumstances. Your job, the beautiful and sacred task that has been given to you, is to become the best version of yourself while you wait. Not waiting passively, not sitting idle while life passes by, but actively becoming. There's a huge difference between waiting and becoming. Waiting suggests passivity, inactivity, just letting time pass. Becoming suggests transformation, growth, intentional development. You are becoming right now, even if you don't feel it. Every challenge you face is shaping you. Every moment of patience is deepening your capacity for grace. Every time you choose faith over fear, you're exercising spiritual muscles that will serve you well in the relationship that may be forming on the horizon. The Apostle Paul wrote about a certain contentment he learned, and it's a kind of contentment that most of us struggle to understand. He said he learned to be content in whatever situation he found himself, whether in plenty or in want, whether in abundance or in need. This wasn't because he didn't desire better circumstances. It was because he had discovered that his wholeness wasn't dependent on his circumstances. His peace came from a source that circumstances couldn't touch. And I believe that same kind of contentment is available to you right now. Not a contentment that says, I'll never have love, but a contentment that says, I am whole right now, in this moment, even as I remain open to what God might bring. This is not denial. This is not suppressing your desires or pretending you don't long for companionship. This is acknowledging those desires, fully and completely, while also acknowledging that your fundamental worth and peace don't depend on whether those desires are immediately fulfilled. You are valuable now. You are complete now. You are enough now. Not because you have everything you want, but because you are created in the image of a God who lacks nothing, who needs nothing, who is complete in himself and shares that completeness with his children. When you operate from that place of wholeness, something beautiful happens. You stop approaching relationships from desperation and start approaching them from abundance. You stop looking for someone to complete you and start looking for someone to complement you. You stop trying to fill a void and start inviting someone to share a life that is already full. And that energy, that abundant, whole, grounded energy, is incredibly attractive. Not in a manipulative way, not as a strategy to draw someone in, but as a natural consequence of becoming who God created you to be. When you are whole, you attract people who are seeking wholeness. At peace, you attract people who are seeking peace. When you are rooted in something deeper than circumstances, you attract people who are looking for that depth. If you're finding encouragement in these words tonight, I want to pause here and invite you to consider becoming part of this community, here on the Angelic Lights channel. We come together not because we have all the answers, but because we're all on this journey together, seeking wisdom, seeking peace, seeking the kind of faith that sustains us through every season. If that resonates with you, consider subscribing and know that you are welcome here, exactly as you are. Now let me return to something I touched on earlier, because I think it deserves more attention. The courage that is building in someone right now, the courage they're gathering to step toward you. That courage isn't just about romantic feelings. It's about something much deeper. It's about the willingness to be vulnerable. It's about the bravery required to say, I see a future here, and I'm willing to risk being wrong. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood concepts in our world today. We've been taught, especially in certain cultures and certain contexts, that vulnerability is weakness, that exposing your heart is dangerous, that keeping your cards close to your chest is the safest way to navigate relationships. But here's what I've come to understand. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is the birthplace of real connection. Without vulnerability, you can have surface-level interactions, you can have convenient arrangements, you can have relationships that look good from the outside, but feel hollow on the inside. Have the deep, soul-level connection that makes life truly meaningful without someone being brave enough to go first. And someone, perhaps the person we've been discussing, is working up the courage to be brave with you. They're wrestling with the fear of rejection. They're wrestling with the uncertainty of how you might respond. They're wrestling with societal expectations and internal doubts and all the voices that say, this doesn't make sense. You should find someone your own age. What could they possibly see in you? And they're wrestling because they care, because this matters to them, because you matter to them in a way that they might not fully understand yet. Love doesn't always arrive with understanding. Sometimes it arrives as a mystery, a pull towards someone that defies logical explanation. We look at the person and we can't quite articulate why we're drawn to them. We just know that something in our spirit recognizes something in theirs. Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, and the scripture says those 7 years seemed like only a few days because of his love for her. That kind of love doesn't calculate. It doesn't weigh advantages and disadvantages. It simply knows, and it waits, and it works, because it cannot imagine any other path forward. And while we're talking about waiting, let me offer a different perspective on patience. We often think of patience as simply enduring the gap between now and what we want. But biblical patience is much more dynamic than that. The patience that Scripture speaks about is not passive endurance. It's active faithfulness. It's continuing to do what is right, continuing to grow, continuing to become, even when the results we're hoping for haven't materialized yet. James wrote about letting patience have its complete work, so that we might be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. Notice the goal there. Patience isn't just about surviving the waiting period. Patience is actually doing something to us, in us, forming us into people who are mature and complete. Every day that you wait with faith instead of frustration, you're becoming someone. Every moment that you choose trust over anxiety, you're being shaped into a person who can handle the blessing when it comes. Because here's a truth we rarely talk about. Some blessings are delayed because we're not ready to receive them yet. And that's not punishment. That's protection. God loves you enough to ensure that when something happens, good arrives in your life, you're prepared to steward it well. A relationship that came to you before you were ready could crumble under the weight of your own unhealed wounds, your unresolved issues, your undeveloped capacity for love. But a relationship that arrives when you've done the inner work, when you've grown into someone who can receive love without destroying it, that relationship has a chance to thrive. So the waiting is not wasted. The waiting is preparation. The waiting is God loving you enough to make sure that when love comes, you're able to hold it gently, nurture it carefully, and protect it fiercely. I want to talk now about something that might feel uncomfortable. I want to talk about the stories we tell ourselves about what we deserve. Because I've noticed that many people, perhaps you included, carry narratives in their minds. That goes something like this. I've made too many mistakes to be loved well. I'm too broken for anyone to really want me. The good years are behind me, and I missed my chance. Someone younger couldn't truly want to be with me. There must be something wrong with them if they do. These narratives feel true because we've been repeating them to ourselves for so long. But feelings are not facts, and the stories we tell ourselves are often heavily edited, biased toward our pain, and completely missing the perspective that God has. From where God sits, He sees the full picture. He sees the mistakes, yes, but He also sees the growth that came from them. He sees the brokenness, yes, but He also sees how that brokenness has made you more compassionate, more understanding, more able to hold space for another person's. He sees the years that have passed, yes, but He doesn't count them the way we do. A day is like 1,000 years to Him, and 1,000 years is like a day. Time is not His limitation, and He sees you fully and completely, including parts of yourself that you haven't even discovered yet. He sees your potential for love. He sees your capacity for partnership. He sees what you will become in the years ahead, and He's orchestrating things accordingly. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to prove your worth through accomplishment or attractiveness or having all the right answers. Your worth was established before you took your first breath. It was written into your very existence by a God who doesn't make imperfections. And the right person, the person who is meant to walk alongside you, will recognize that worth not because you perform perfectly, but because they have eyes to see what's truly there. Let me share something about the nature of recognition. In the biblical story, when Boaz first noticed Ruth, he asked about her. He saw something in her that made him curious, something that set her apart from everyone else in the field. And what set her apart wasn't her status or her wealth or her social standing. She was a poor foreign widow gleaning in the fields just to survive. What set her apart was her character, her loyalty, her willingness to care for her mother-in-law, her faith in a God she had only recently come to know. Boaz saw the depth of who she was, and he was drawn to it. Recognition works that way. Who is meant for you won't be drawn to superficial things that fade with time. They'll be drawn to the essence of who you are, the qualities that actually matter, the things that only become more beautiful as the years pass. Kindness doesn't age. Wisdom doesn't expire. Faithfulness doesn't diminish with time. The capacity for joy, for wonder, for deep appreciation of life's small gifts, these things can actually grow stronger as we mature. If someone younger is being drawn to you, it may be precisely because they recognize these qualities in you. They see the person you've become through all your years of living, and they want to be near that. They want to learn from that. They want to be loved by someone who loves with that kind of depth. This isn't about them having some kind of unusual. This is about them having unusual discernment. They're looking past the surface that most people fixate on, and they're seeing what's underneath. That's a gift. That's someone special. That's someone worth waiting for. And while you wait, I want to encourage you to do something that might feel counterintuitive. I want you to practice receiving. So many of us are good at giving. We've spent our lives taking care of others, meeting needs, being the strong one, being the responsible one. But when it comes to receiving, when it comes to letting someone take care of us, love us, serve us, we become uncomfortable. We don't know how to sit in that. We feel like we should be doing something, giving something back, earning what's being offered. But love, real love, isn't earned. It's given. And if you want to receive the love that may be coming your way, you're going to have to practice letting go of the need to earn it. You're going to have to practice simply accepting that someone sees you, wants you, chooses you, not because you did everything right, but because something in them connects with something in you. This might bring up feelings of vulnerability. It might trigger old wounds about not being good enough, about having to perform for love, about love being conditional on your usefulness. Let those wounds come up. Don't push them down. Bring them before God and ask Him to heal them. Because the person who may be gathering courage to step toward you deserves to meet someone who can actually receive what they want to give. And you deserve to experience the fullness of being loved without constantly trying to prove you're worthy of it. Now, before I close tonight, I want to address something that I think is essential to keep in mind. Nothing I've said tonight is a guarantee of a specific outcome. I don't know what tomorrow holds for you. I don't know who God is preparing to walk into your life, or when, or how. What I do know is that God is faithful. What I do know is that His plans for you are good, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. What I do know is that whether or not a specific person walks into your life, you are held, you are loved, you are valued by a God who will never leave you or forsake you. If love comes in the form of a younger partner who sees you clearly and chooses you fully, receive it with gratitude and steward it well. If love comes in a different form than you expected, receive that too, because God's wisdom far exceeds our imagination. And if you find yourself walking alone for a season longer, know that you are not actually alone. You are accompanied by the same presence that walked with Moses in the wilderness, with Elijah when he was running for his life, with Daniel in the den of lions. You are never, ever truly alone. The call tonight is not to fixate on a specific outcome. The call is to trust, to grow, to become, to remain open to the surprising ways that God might work in your life. The call is to let go of the need to control and to rest in the knowledge that you are in the hands of someone who controls what you cannot. If this message has touched something in you tonight, I invite you to do one simple thing before you go. And speak to God about what's stirred in your heart. Not a formal prayer, not the right words, just you talking to your Father about what you're feeling, what you're hoping for, what you're afraid of. He's listening. He's always listening. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply open our mouths and let the honest words come out. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for trusting this space with your time and your attention. And thank you for being part of this community that gathers to seek wisdom and encouragement together. If these words have meant something to you, feel free to share them with someone who might need to hear them, or leave a word of encouragement in the comments for the next person who arrives here feeling uncertain and searching for peace. May you walk forward from this moment with a lighter heart, with a deeper faith, with the quiet assurance that you are seen, you are loved, and your story is still being written by a hand that has never made a mistake. Peace be with you, tonight and always.